I found a note in my apartment saying, "You are not alone. I think I'm losing my mind." I've always been a pretty rational person, skeptical of anything paranormal or unexplained. If a friend told me about something strange happening to them, I'd immediately try to come up with a logical explanation. But what's been happening to me over the past 2 weeks has made me seriously question my sanity. I've been working from home for over a year now. I actually enjoy it. I'm an introvert, so the quiet and solitude suit me well. I also have a small hobby, collecting and restoring old vinyl records. My evenings usually involve putting on a record, turning on a warm lamp, and losing myself in the sound. My routine is pretty fixed: work, dinner, music, or a movie, then bed. But recently, that routine has been disrupted in unsettling ways. It started small. I began waking up feeling exhausted, like I'd been tossing and turning all night. I normally sleep deeply, so this was unusual for me. I figured it was just stress from work or maybe being stuck in a monotonous routine. I decided to take more walks and distract myself. But things only got worse. One morning, I couldn't find my apartment keys. I always leave them in the same place by the front door, years of habit. I searched everywhere, even checked the trash, but they were nowhere to be found. Eventually, I discovered them in the bathroom on top of the washing machine, which is a place I'd never leave them. I chalked it up to absent-mindedness. Maybe I was deep in thought and just didn't notice. The next week, things got even stranger. I started noticing that items in my apartment were out of place. A book I'd been reading before bed somehow ended up in the kitchen cabinet. The TV remote ended up in the fridge. My toothbrush was once on the shelf where I keep my vinyl records. These seemed like silly little incidents, but they planted a seed of doubt in my mind. I'm not a sleepwalker, and I've never had issues with memory. The real nightmare began about a week ago. One night, I woke up to a faint rustling sound and a creaking noise, like someone slowly opening a door in another room. My apartment has only 3 doors: the bedroom, the bathroom, and the front door. The latter is always locked. I assumed it was a draft, but when I got up to check, all the windows were closed and no one was there. I tried to calm myself and went back to bed, but something felt off. The next night, I was woken up again, this time by the sound of footsteps. Someone was slowly walking down the hallway. My heart was pounding out of my chest. I lay there, frozen, trying to convince myself it was just my imagination. Then I heard the footsteps stop right outside my bedroom door. There was a quiet, almost hesitant knock. I was too terrified to move or even breathe. After what felt like an eternity, the footsteps slowly retreated. When I finally worked up the courage to get up and check, there was, of course, no one there. Everything in the hallway was as it should be, and the door was still locked. I felt like I was losing my mind, trying to rationalize what had just happened. Maybe I was dreaming, or maybe I was just overtired. But the next morning, things got even creepier. I woke up to find my vinyl record collection completely disorganized, with many records placed in the wrong sleeves. And on the table was a note. A small piece of paper, torn from some notepad, with the words "You are not alone" scribbled in uneven handwriting. That's when I started to panic for real. My first thought was that it was some kind of prank, but who could have done it? How could anyone have gotten into my apartment? The windows were closed, the door was locked, and the locks were untouched. My friends swore it wasn't them, and none of them had visited me in weeks. The final straw came a few nights later when I was woken up by the sound of my record player turning on. It was in the living room, and I could clearly hear the crackling of the vinyl starting to spin. I got out of bed, opened the door, and stood in the dark, listening. Through the thin wall, I could hear the faint hissing of the record and the soft creak of footsteps. I mustered the courage to open the door and turn on the light. Nothing. But the record was indeed spinning, even though I had definitely not turned it on. At that point, I grabbed some clothes, left my apartment, and drove to my parents' house outside the city. I told them everything, but they didn't take me seriously. They said I was just stressed and needed a break. But I can't shake the feeling that something or someone is really invading my life. I took time off work and honestly don't know if I can go back to that apartment. And the scariest part is that I have no idea what I'll do if this hasn't ended.